Hi, this is Marty Schultz. I'm president and one of the founders of ObjectiveEd. When we started ObjectiveEd, we knew that reinforcement learning was important for students to master many of the skills in the expanded core curriculum to avoid their skills from fading over time. Let me explain this further. Skill fade is when you forget a skill. It happens to everyone. For example, when first responders were taught CPR and then were tested several months later without practicing CPR in the interim, they experienced skill fade. After 6 months, only a quarter of the first responders did not suffer from skill fade. When your student experiences skill fade, you have to repeat the same lesson over and over again. Students get bored and they don't make as much progress as you know they can. Using what researchers call learning theory, it's not hard to reduce skill fade. Your students will practice what you teach, and that practice results in mastering many of the skills of the expanded core curriculum. When you learn a skill, your brain goes through 3 major steps. Think about how you learned how to type. First, you memorize where more and more of the keys are located, and then you hunted and pecked to type. It was slow, and you made lots of errors. During this stage, occasional practice helped improve learning to type. Then your brain began to develop a learned procedure. Letters that you typed often became what is commonly called muscle memory. You became faster, but still made some errors. At this stage, practicing a lot really helps. Finally, your brain has completed the learned procedure and typing comes naturally. To not lose this skill, you need to practice periodically over many months, or your skill begins to fade. Our reinforcement curriculum reduces skill fade as students play our skill-building games. Let's watch a short video that explains this.
Teachers, you know that there is never enough time to teach and practice all the skills your students need to know. With ObjectiveEd, we help your students practice the skills you taught them through fun and exciting games. We have many different skills that can be taught using our games, so simply activate the one that fits your students' IEP goals. Then, a version of that game that focuses on training the skills you specified will be sent to the cloud and then to your student's tablet device. Students will learn and practice while they play. After the student finishes playing the game, the information is sent back to your teacher dashboard. Using the dashboard, you can watch your students' progress as they improve over time. You can then export that data and import it into your student's IEP progress report. At ObjectiveEd, we help students achieve their best educational outcomes.
So, what exactly is ObjectiveEd? Well, ObjectiveEd is a reinforcement learning system that allows students to practice skills using fun and accessible digital curriculum that has been gamified. Now, in the past, gamification has been a very inefficient way for students to work on skills. Games can often expose students to many different mechanics. Some mechanics may be too easy for them, some too hard for them. Games are rarely just focusing on what's appropriate for the student and what you'd like them to practice. ObjectiveEd's digital curriculum is different. Our curriculum adjusts to just focus on those skills you want students to work on. This means the student gets to work on a fun and accessible game, and you get to make sure that content is appropriate for them and only addresses those skills that you want them to work on. How this works is, based on the student's IEP or on the skills you're covering with them in their lesson, you'll assign skills on the ObjectiveEd web dashboard that you want them to work on. Our curriculum automatically adjusts itself to focus on those skills. The student can access the curriculum at home, in the car, or in the resource room and work on that skill. The game automatically uploads all the data on how they're doing back to the web dashboard, and you can monitor their progress and download that data to include in a progress report. ObjectiveEd was never meant to be a replacement for any of the time you spent with the student in the lesson. ObjectiveEd is a fun and accessible way for students to practice and work on skills using gamification, and of course, provide you with the data on how they're doing. This means there are 2 parts to the ObjectiveEd system. There's the web dashboard, which is what you'll use to set your students up and assign them those skills you want them to work on. And then there's the iPad or iPhone application. This is what students use to access the curriculum and work on the skills you've assigned to them. Students can download this application by searching for ObjectiveEd on the App Store. Think of ObjectiveEd like this. The web dashboard is for you, and the application is for your student. On the web dashboard, you'll assign skills to your students that you want them to work on. Let's say you have a student who is practicing directionality concepts. You could assign them skills to work on relative instructions, clock, or cardinal instructions. When you assign these skills to your student on the web dashboard, our curriculum would automatically adjust to focus only on those skills. So the student can open up the application, begin using the game, and work on these specific skills. Each of our games is highly customizable. On this slide, you are seeing the web dashboard for Audio Asteroid. Notice how you can adjust the required accuracy angle along with many other options. For example, if the student is distracted by background noise, you can turn it off. Or if you want to make it more challenging, you can make it louder. If you are working with a student with low vision, such as a student with a progressive vision loss, you can turn on a screen to hide the graphics. Now, as a student works on the skills that you've assigned them, all of the data on how they're doing will be uploaded back onto the web dashboard. So you can monitor their progress and see exactly how they're doing. You'll even receive some very detailed data on what specific things the student is doing well with, or maybe things that the student needs to spend more time on. For example, you'll be able to see if there's a certain accessibility gesture that the student is struggling with. Maybe they're doing really well with certain gestures. If the student is having problems swiping down, for example, you can dive into those issues. For example, swiping down. Is there a mobility issue? All of this data is made available to you on the web dashboard. Keep in mind, ObjectiveEd is a reinforcement tool. It's a tool to make your teaching more effective, and it's a tool for the student to practice the skills you've taught them. As you use the web dashboard to monitor their progress, you can advance them to a more difficult level of using that skill when you see they've mastered the easier levels. We even have recommendations for a reinforcement schedule to help prevent skill fade. Not only can you, as a teacher, monitor your students' progress, but all this data can be viewed for the entire group of students that your organization serves. This gives the department far more data-driven accountability on the progress students are making. It's part of ObjectiveEd's goal to help make teachers and special education departments more effective in these tight budget times. Now, a couple of points I do want to make here. While all of our curriculum does have bright visuals, they're designed to be played just based on audio. The entire application is fully accessible with VoiceOver, so the experience for all students will be very similar. Let's look at some of the skills within the ECC that can be reinforced through ObjectiveEd. We have several games that reinforce directionality for both young and older students. They practice 2 or 4 or 8-way swiping and dragging, and they are prompted with relative, cardinal, or clock instructions, all depending on where they're at with directionality and what skills you assign them on the web dashboard. Scaffolded on our directionality curriculum, we have several games for students to practice wayfinding and mental mapping. I'll go into one of them in a few minutes. Students can practice their assistive technology skills such as gestures and reaction time, along with improving their listening skills in noisy environments. I'll dive into the listening skills system later on. To reinforce sensory efficiency, such as sound identification and localization, we have 3 games, one of which also lets students practice grid concepts. For students who will never be using printed material, we provide gamified curriculum for both early Braille learners and advanced Braille users. We can show you these items in more detail when you schedule a demo. For teens and young adults who are in a transition program, we now offer a pre-employment practice game that I will describe later. While all of our curriculum is designed to be fun and engaging, they are educational in nature. It's not like the students are playing Minecraft, or Roblox, or Fortnite. We have built-in features to help keep students playing. One of those features is a reward game called Skyrunner. It is an infinite runner-style game where students have to avoid obstacles and gather coins. To activate Skyrunner, students must achieve their daily goals, such as playing 3 levels of their assigned curriculum to open Skyrunner for 5 minutes of play. This is an option that can be turned off as well. We've also built in bonus activities to help with engagement. Students earn what we call experience points as they work. They use those points to play with their virtual pet. Students can play with their personal pet by feeding it, petting it, and even changing its skin. For students that are completely blind, we've made the pet accessible by having each skin associated with a different music and other background sounds. To help you understand how to use ObjectiveEd to prevent skill fade, I'd like to show you several videos of using ObjectiveEd with your students. The first video features Monster Cafe for young students, where students can practice their listening skills.
Monster Cafe is a game designed to help students practice listening skills. For students who will be using audio versions of textbooks as they advance through school, their ability to consume information faster will help them in school. If they are listening at normal speed, they are consuming information slower than their sighted peers. Research has shown that a student listening at about 2.5 times normal speed will consume information at the same speed as their sighted peers. Some blind adults set their voiceover speed to be 3 times normal speed because they train themselves appropriately. Our first product to help students practice and develop these listening skills is a game called Monster Cafe. In this game, monsters enter the cafe and place orders. The monsters speak at accelerated rates, which can be controlled by the teacher. The student fulfills the orders as they are placed. Fulfilling orders quickly and accurately will earn the student gold coins, which can be spent to upgrade their cafe. Students will not only need to comprehend the order which is spoken at an accelerated rate, but discern it through background noise and chatter in the cafe, which is also controllable by the teacher. Monster Cafe is an excellent way for students to begin practicing and working on their listening skills and become comfortable with comprehending information presented at accelerated rates.
We recently released a new game called Map Explore that helps students build a mental map of their local neighborhood.
Explore is an innovative new game that helps students practice their mental mapping and orientation skills using digital Touch Explore maps. Map Explore uses Google Maps information to create digital and accessible maps centered around a particular address or location that you specify. Once you choose the location, our custom software will automatically add accessible Touch Explore features to the map, such as announcements of street names and sonification, which allows the student to track streets accurately using their finger. Students can explore the map and track the streets using sonification, and find all of the custom pins that you added.
Boylston Street. Intersection of Boylston Street and Kilmarnock Street. Boylston Street. Target. You found target 1 of 4 locations.
When they're ready, they'll be quizzed and asked to double tap on the location of certain pins on the screen. After they guess, they'll then have an opportunity to use sonification to find out exactly how close they were.
Try to find Raimler Park and double tap where you think it is. You earned 967 points.
Now let's see where it was. Place your finger on the screen and move it until you find the correct location. When the beeps get faster, that means you're getting close. Map Explore can help by providing students with accessible Touch Explore maps for practicing their orientation and mental mapping skills, as prep material for an orientation lesson in the field, for independent practicing, or as a fast and easy alternative or supplement to tactile maps.
And thanks to a grant from the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, we just released a system where students can practice their pre-employment transition skills.
My name is Ashley. I'm a vision rehab therapist at the Carroll Center for the Blind near Boston, Massachusetts. I teach pre-vocational skills to transition-age students, and I am pleased to present Transition Adventures game trailer by ObjectiveEd.
This month, Sarah at TVI is working with Kai on his pre-employment transition skills. Kai will be graduating high school in a few years and would really like to get a summer job. Sarah just heard about ObjectiveEd's Transition Adventure, an interactive fiction game to practice pre-employment skills. Sarah learned that ObjectiveEd won a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, a division of the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. The grant was to build a skill-building game where students could practice pre-employment transition skills through a choose-your-own-adventure audio game playable on any accessible device, such as an iPad or iPhone. Working with the American Foundation for the Blind, ObjectiveEd assembled a team of researchers, blind adults, and story writers to create this game. Dr. Carla Antonelli is a researcher at Mississippi State University's National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision. Kim Charlson was previously the chair of the American Council of the Blind and is the director of the library at the Perkins School for the Blind. Brian Charlson was previously the director of technology at the Carroll Center for the Blind. Over the course of about a year, the team created a 5-chapter story to help teens practice crucial skills for getting and succeeding in a job. The story begins as the teen visits several summer employment options. The teen applies to jobs, follows up with employers, sits for first job interview, learns the ropes at their new job, and in the final chapter, completes their first day on the job. Sarah knows that this game provides a fun way for students to try out different approaches to practice independent living, problem solving, and self-advocacy skills, and uses the ObjectiveEd web dashboard to assign this game to Kai. After a few days of Kai playing the game, he reaches Chapter 3. Here's what he is hearing.
Uncle Scott soon speaks up again.
Hey, speaking of work and being over 16, you wanted to find a job in town when you got here, right?
Yes. I'm looking for work. Not sure yet. I'm looking for work.
Lots of good places in town hiring, I'm sure. I haven't looked much, but I know you could probably find some leads online, then go to them in person.
Aunt Tilly speaks in agreement.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. We can fill in applications together tomorrow.
Uncle Scott interjects.
Oh, Till, Sam probably doesn't want to jump right into it like that.
No, it's fine. I'm ready. A day or two to think would be nice. Filling in applications doesn't sound like fun. No, it's fine. I'm ready. Aunt Tilly says with a smile.
As eager as I remember. We can work on job hunting in the morning then. There are so many places in town that I'm sure would love to have you.
Uncle Scott adds.
And don't worry about getting around. Most of the sidewalks are paved, and we've got a bus stop right by our house. Wherever you end up working, getting there shouldn't be a problem.
Aunt Tilly says.
That's right. I'm sure you're going to love it here, Sam. There's also a great downtown area that the bus can take you to.
Like all of the ObjectiveEd skill building games, Sarah monitors Kai's progress in mastering the skills needed to get and succeed in a job. Sarah also learns that ObjectiveEd will be building more interactive fiction games, both for students with blindness and low vision, as well as students with other disabilities.
I want to wrap this up with one final video showing you how ObjectiveEd's progress reporting makes an IEP meeting more data-driven.
Sarah, the itinerant TVI and O&M who works with several students who are blind or have low vision, has an IEP meeting for Maya this week. Maya's last IEP had a goal to demonstrate an improvement in using cardinal directions for orientation purposes. For the last few weeks, Maya has practiced this during her lesson with Sarah and at home using one of the barnyard skill configurations. As Sarah gets ready for the IEP meeting, she copies the progress that Maya has made in laterality with east-west dragging using barnyard and copies it into her IEP progress report. Sarah notes that since using ObjectiveEd's data-based progress tracking, writing a progress report takes far less time. At the IEP meeting, Sarah meets with Maya's parents, her classroom teacher, and the director of special education at Maya's school. Sarah hands out the IEP to everyone in the meeting, and they review Maya's progress. Sarah's mom is pleased Maya made such quick progress. Sarah answers the mom by showing the video that explains how Barnyard works and that there are many skill-building games that will help Maya master many of the skills of the expanded core curriculum. The IEP team decides Maya is ready to learn simple clock directions, and Sarah uses the ObjectiveEd dashboard to use the skill intermediate laterality with 3 and 9 o'clock swiping using Barnyard. Sarah tells Maya's parents that they can test out how the game will work with this IEP skill. Sarah mentions that's how she tests the game configurations before assigning them to Maya. Maya's mom starts playing the game and is having so much fun that she forgets she's in an IEP meeting and that everyone is watching her. At Maya's next lesson, Sarah will teach her about 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock directions. When Maya starts playing barnyard again at home, she can practice what she learned during that lesson.
The ObjectiveEd reinforcement system is available on a per-student annual basis. We can go into details if you would like a demo of our system, and Jason, our Director of Customer Success, can set that up for you.